Hello, I'm here with Anna Shelley today, our Chief Investment Officer. Very exciting period because it's my 1 year anniversary, just about, and you've been here for almost a year as well, or have been here for a year.
Yeah, that's right. We've had a busy 12 months. It's been fantastic. I think one of the best things actually about the 12 months has been that the market environment has changed so much over the course of the 12 months. And we've gone from having 4 decades of falling interest rates, falling inflation, and we've had this big about turn. So adapting to that's been fascinating.
Yeah, I think someone said to me the other day, it's the most interesting market space you've been in our lifetimes, and I'd agree with that, but a little bit scary as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So listen, tell me, you've been here for 12 months. What were the expectations you had when you came here, and what do you think you've achieved over those last 12 months?
Yeah, look, and it was interesting because I started in lockdown, as you did as well. And so, you have some expectations about how you're going to come in and connect with the team and everything. Luckily, I think we were able to still do that pretty well. It's a really tight, friendly team, some wonderful experience in the team, being able to benefit from the likes of Shane Oliver and Deanna Messina and the other senior members of the team has been really fantastic. But I've probably been most proud of how the team has adapted the portfolios to the new environment. So, if we think about those big changes, including the big jump up in inflation, we've had to review the asset allocation or the weightings to all the asset classes in the funds. And that's been a really important piece of work. We've introduced new private debt allocations into the funds, which will be really beneficial, we think, going forward. And we've completely reviewed our liquid alternatives type assets as well. So there's been a lot of work going on, setting the portfolios up for the future. I think the market's sort of showing us that you can't take your eye off it for a second.
You absolutely can't. So what is your advice, to our customers, to the investors in the funds when we go through this period? Because a little bit uncertain for our customers.
Yeah, definitely. And I think... if you think back to that decade between 2000 and 2010, where your sort of average home variable rate was, maybe around the 7.5% type level. Mm-hmm. So you could think, we got all the way down to sort of 2% or so, lucky devils who fix their rates at 2%. And now we've jumped up a little bit, but we're still not back at those levels that a lot of people experienced. But the real problem is for customers who've entered into the mortgage market, bought their first home, or even upgraded significantly in the last 5 years. And, the size of the average mortgage, particularly relative to your income, has grown so much that actually we're all quite levered to even small interest rate rises. And so people will be feeling that type of stress. What we try and do is hopefully take one less stress off the table. Superannuation is the second largest asset for most people after your own home. And so through managing the portfolios in a really diversified, low-risk way, adjusting them for the new market environment, we're hoping to take one less stress off the table for our customers.
And that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
Can't change their everyday lives, but we can look after their financial well-being. So thank you very much for that. Now, Anna, you are a special person because in investment management or funds management, there are not too many females. In fact, 1 in 20, which is a pretty poor stat. How do you think about that?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. There's not many female CEOs either. so AMP is kind of pulling above our weight here. But look, it's in the first instance, it's a funnel issue. So we only have about 20% of investment management roles that are women. So it's not entirely surprising if we then get to maybe 10 to 15% in portfolio manager roles and then down to 5 to 10% in senior executive roles. So we've got to address that funnel. But, the funnel goes back a really long way. There's all sorts of societal, impacts on how we attract women into the industry. I've got a 7-year-old son, actually, and he was saying to me yesterday, Mum, can men be doctors too? And it's because we've got a female GP, right? So it is a really long funnel, and we're not we're not the only industry that has problems with this. You know, IT, engineering, quite well known as well. So we've got to improve, you know, the number of women we attract into the industry. And then I think as a business, once we do attract people into the industry and we've got as diverse, you know, an employee skill set as we possibly can, you know, we've got to do the best that we can to make sure that there's no unconscious bias or anything impeding their progression, you know, through the industry and into seniority. So one of the things that I love actually is that AMP just recently introduced, you know, what I call equal access parental leave, which I think, you know, sometimes small changes can make a massive difference. And I think that will go a long way to reducing unconscious bias.
Let's hope so, because we don't want to be talking about this in the next 2 decades. Now, listen, it would be remiss of me not to ask you about ESG or sustainability, especially in the industry you're in. It's a topic that's really become, you know, something we talk about around the dinner table now. Tell us about how you've seen that change over the years.
Yeah, look, and it's fascinating because when I was a young research analyst, I used to review AMP, so, you know, more than 2 decades ago. And AMP has always been at the forefront of ESG and actually not just domestically, but globally as well. And I think possibly the biggest change over that time has been that ESG was really compartmentalised back then. It was sort of an add-on, something you did in addition. You know, you had a separate team, you had separate products, all that sort of thing that you offered to customers. Nowadays, it's really integrated into investment processes. It's as normal, you know, assessing ESG risks and opportunities is as normal as if you're assessing a company's sales or their profit. And in fact, if you're not making those ESG assessments, you know, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be at the pinnacle.
And the
of
customers
the game.
demanding it as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we've seen how companies, you know, can be penalised if they fail to take account of those ESG risks, or if they're not meeting societal expectations more broadly. So it's you know, it's hugely important, but it's definitely more integrated than it used to be.
And I think that, you know, I think we're all starting to learn. There's so many different agencies out there. It'd be great to get some consistency across the industry that we can all think about more holistically and compare ourselves as well.
Absolutely. Data is remains tricky. You know, I think it's been gradually improving. So we've sort of got better data than we had 10 years ago. We're able to, you know, undertake sort of scenario analysis on, you know, what if, you know, certain events happen, particularly with regards to climate change and that sort of thing. I think, you know, the sanctions against Russia were really interesting as well, because there's always been sanctions against various companies and countries globally, but I think that really highlighted as well, you know, the potential for, you know, a really big country to be sanctioned, and then what that might mean in a portfolio context.
Well, as you said, very interesting times. We're very lucky to have you at the helm at these times. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. I'm loving it. So thank you very much.